Before we dive into today's story, I wanted to take a quick moment to talk about this channel. We're a community dedicated to respectfully remembering the victims and uncovering the facts behind true crime cases and unsolved disappearances. If you value this approach and want to support respectful storytelling, becoming a subscriber is the best way to never miss an update. If you find our work meaningful, leaving a like helps immensely in bringing these important stories to a wider audience. In the comments, we encourage you to share messages of remembrance for the victims or thoughts on why it is important to keep these cases alive. Let's keep the discussion respectful and focused on the facts. Your support is what allows me to continue this work with the care and dedication it deserves. Now, let's get into the case. In the fall of 2019, Lori Vallow and her new husband, Chad Daybell, appeared to be building a picture-perfect life in Rexburg, Idaho. Lori, a vivacious and devout woman in her late 40s, and Chad, a self-published author of religious fiction focused on apocalyptic themes, presented themselves as a spiritually destined couple. They were active members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, though their beliefs had evolved into extreme, unorthodox interpretations. They preached about the imminent end times, spiritual possession, and being part of a select group of translators with special powers. However, this new beginning was shadowed by the conspicuous absence of Lori's two youngest children, 17-year-old Tylee Ryan and 7-year-old Joshua J.J. Vallow. Tylee, described as bright and protective of her brother, and J.J., a joyful boy with autism, had last been seen by extended family in September 2019. Lori offered various shifting explanations for their whereabouts, telling some they were staying with a friend in Arizona and others that JJ was with his biological grandfather. Concern among family members reached a breaking point in November 2019. JJ's biological grandparents, Larry and Kay Woodcock, who had a close relationship with the boy, had not spoken to him since September. Their repeated attempts to contact Lori were met with evasion or silence. Simultaneously, police in Chandler, Arizona, were investigating the suspicious death of Lori's previous husband, Charles Vallow. Charles had been shot and killed by Lori's brother, Alex Cox, in July 2019 in what was initially claimed as self-defense. The investigation into Charles's death raised red flags about Lori and her circle. The convergence of these worries, missing children and a suspicious death, prompted JJ's grandparents to formally request a welfare check from the Rexburg Police Department on the 26th of November, 2019. When officers arrived at Lori and Chad's townhouse, they were met with denial and deflection. Lori stated the children were safe in Arizona but refused to provide specifics or allow police to speak with them. Chad Daybell was equally vague. The couple's behavior, combined with the officers' inability to verify the children's well-being, triggered an immediate and urgent missing persons investigation. The idyllic facade in Rexburg was about to crack wide open. The Rexburg Police Department's welfare check unraveled a disturbing timeline shrouded in death and bizarre beliefs. Investigators quickly discovered that Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell were not just a devout couple. They were at the center of a circle that had experienced a staggering amount of recent mortality. In addition to the shooting of Charles Vallow, Lori's brother Alex Cox had died unexpectedly of what was initially deemed natural causes in December 2019. Furthermore, Chad Daybell's previous wife, Tammy Daybell, had died just weeks before he married Lori in October 2019. Her death was originally attributed to natural causes, but was now under intense suspicion. The common thread was Lori and Chad's radical theological beliefs, which investigators began to piece together from interviews, social media, and texts. Central to their worldview was a concept they called the dark and light scale, a twisted metric for judging people's spiritual worth. They believed some individuals could become zombies, a term they used to describe people whose bodies were possessed by evil spirits, rendering their true souls dead. The only way to release a zombie's trapped soul, they preached, was to kill the possessed physical body. This doctrine provided a terrifying potential motive for the deaths surrounding them. Law enforcement now theorized that Charles Vallow, Tammy Daybell, and possibly the missing children had been labeled as dark or zombies. The investigation took a critical turn when police executed search warrants on the couple's digital lives. Texts revealed Chad referring to Tylee as having a dark rating. Financial records showed Lori continued to collect Social Security survivor benefits for the children after they vanished. Most damningly, cell phone location data pings placed Lori, Chad, and the now deceased Alex Cox at Chad Daybell's property in Salem, Idaho, on key dates in September 2019, dates that would later be proven crucial. Faced with mounting evidence and public pressure, and with the children still missing, Lori and Chad abruptly fled Rexburg for Hawaii in late November 2019, leaving investigators to dig literally in their wake. With Lori and Chad in Hawaii, Idaho authorities intensified their physical search for Tylee and JJ. The focus honed in on Chad Daybell's sprawling property in Salem, Idaho, using the cell phone location data that placed the trio there on the 8th of September and 9th, 2019. Investigators obtained search warrants. On the 9th of June 2020, a somber excavation began on Daybell's land. The search was methodical and grim. In a fire pit area near the home, investigators sifting through ash and debris discovered human bone fragments and teeth. Forensic analysis would later confirm these remains belonged to Tylee Ryan. The scene suggested a horrific attempt to destroy evidence through burning. The search then moved to a different, deeply disturbing location on the property, a pet cemetery. There, beneath a freshly laid layer of soil and under a pile of rocks and a fallen tree branch, investigators exhumed the body of 7-year-old JJ Vallow. He was found wrapped in plastic bags and duct tape, his little body buried in a manner that spoke of callous secrecy. The discovery sent shockwaves through the nation. The missing persons case was now a double homicide investigation. The timeline reconstructed from evidence indicated Tylee was likely killed on the 8th of September 2019 after returning from a trip to Yellowstone National Park with her mother and uncle, Alex Cox. JJ was killed the following day, the 9th of September. In both instances, Alex Cox's cell phone was pinged at the property, and his truck was seen on neighboring Ring camera footage. Alex Cox, the man who had shot Charles Vallow and was a fervent believer in Chad and Lori's doctrines, was the prime suspect in carrying out the physical acts of murder under their direction. However, with his own sudden death in December 2019, he could never be charged. The recovery of the children's bodies changed everything. Lori Vallow was arrested in Hawaii on the 20th of June 2020 and extradited to Idaho. Chad Daybell was arrested in Salem on the 9th of June 2020, the same day JJ's body was found. They were both charged with multiple felony counts, including conspiracy to commit murder, first-degree murder, and grand theft for continuing to collect the children's benefit funds. The Doomsday beliefs were no longer just a strange backdrop. Prosecutors would argue they were the blueprint for murder. The legal proceedings against Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell became a national spectacle, meticulously dissecting the intersection of extreme belief and criminal action. The couple was initially slated to be tried together, but their cases were later separated. Lori Vallow's trial began first in April 2023. The prosecution's case was a massive undertaking, presenting over 60 witnesses and hundreds of pieces of evidence. They painted a picture of a mother who, under the influence of Chad Daybell's doomsday prophecies, came to view her own children as obstacles and threats, as zombies possessed by evil spirits that needed to be destroyed. Key evidence included the digital trail of texts discussing the dark scale, financial records showing Lori continued to collect benefits, and the damning location data placing Alex Cox at the burial scenes. The defense did not dispute that the children were dead or that they were buried on Chad's property. Instead, they centered their argument on Lori Vallow's mental state. Her attorneys argued that she was a woman suffering from severe mental illness, rendered incapable of forming the intent to murder due to her delusional beliefs. They claimed she was under the spell of Chad Daybell, a manipulative cult leader. This set the stage for a battle of experts, with psychiatrists testifying for both sides about her competency and sanity. The prosecution countered that Lori was a willing and eager participant, motivated by financial gain, life insurance, and survivor benefits, and a desire to be with Chad unencumbered. They portrayed her as calculating, pointing to her lies to police and family, her flight to Hawaii, and her demeanor in jailhouse calls. After weeks of testimony, the jury rejected the insanity defense. On May 12, 2023, Lori Vallow Daybell was found guilty on all counts. The first-degree murders of Tylee Ryan J.J. Vallow and Tammy Daybell, Chad's former wife, and conspiracy to commit murder. Her sentencing in July 2023 delivered a measure of finality. Family members, including J.J.'s grandfather, Larry Woodcock, delivered heart-wrenching victim impact statements, speaking of unimaginable loss and betrayal. Judge Stephen Boyce condemned Lori's deeply troubling betrayal of maternal duty and sentenced her to 3 consecutive life terms without the possibility of parole, plus additional years for conspiracy. The first major chapter of the legal saga had closed, with the Doomsday Mother found fully responsible and condemned to die in prison. All attention now turned to Chad Daybell, the architect of the beliefs that had justified the horrors. The conviction of Lori Vallow brought a form of justice, but no solace to the grieving families. The story's legacy is one of profound tragedy, exposing how esoteric beliefs can be weaponized to justify the unthinkable. In the court of public opinion, the case became a macabre study in manipulation, maternal failure, and the vulnerability of those drawn to apocalyptic narratives. The extensive media coverage, including documentaries and nightly news specials, ensured the names Tylee and JJ would be remembered not for their lives, but for the horrifying nature of their deaths and the mother who betrayed them. For their surviving family, the pain is perpetuated by the ongoing legal process, as they now must endure a second trial for Chad Daybell. As of this recording, Chad Daybell awaits his own trial, currently scheduled for 2024. He faces the same charges of first-degree murder and conspiracy. His defense is expected to diverge from Lori's. He has not pursued an insanity plea. Observers speculate his team may attempt to pin the physical acts solely on the deceased Alex Cox, and Lori portraying Chad as merely a religious writer whose ideas were misinterpreted and acted upon by others. However, prosecutors have a mountain of evidence suggesting his central role, including texts labeling the victims, his rapid marriage to Lori after his wife's death, and the fact the children were buried on his property. The state is seeking the death penalty against Chad Daybell, raising the stakes of the upcoming trial to the highest level. This final chapter will determine if the man who preached about dark spirits and zombies will be held equally, if not more, accountable as the woman who followed him. The Doomsday Mom case leaves behind a chilling warning. It underscores the potential danger of charismatic authority within insulated belief systems and the catastrophic consequences when fantasy bleeds into reality. It also highlights systemic failures. The initial classifications of the deaths of Charles Vallow and Tammy Daybell as natural or justified, which allowed the plot to continue. Ultimately, the story of Tylee Ryan and J.J. Vallow is a stark reminder that evil often wears the mask of faith, and that the search for meaning can sometimes lead to a profound and deadly loss of humanity. Their memory now serves as a somber call for vigilance, both within communities and families, against the ideologies that seek to devalue innocent life. As we conclude today's story, let's once again remember the lives affected. If you found this exploration meaningful and want to support respectful storytelling about real cases, please consider leaving a like. It helps more than you know. To stay updated with our deep dives into unresolved histories, hit that subscribe button, and in the comments below, feel free to share a thought in memory or why you believe remembering these stories matters. Thank you for watching. and for being a part of this thoughtful community.